Elysium, or Elysium, as you keep wanting to say.
I've said it once, and then you corrected me, and as you know, I always take notice of what you say.
Yeah, that'll be the first. So latest from Neil Blomkamp, who made District 9, which I really like. And once again, this is a socially inflected science fiction movie. So it's futuristic. I think it's 2154 is the time. The world is polluted and devastated and ravaged. And the rich have basically fled to the sky. There is this huge, great big space station orbiting the Earth called Elysium, where the air is clear, the living is good. And the medical service is absolutely extraordinary. Every house has within it this kind of strange pod that if anything breaks or you get ill or anything, you just go into this pod and the pod fixes it. Meanwhile, down on Earth, there's pollution and strife and all that sort of thing. Matt Damon has grown up dreaming of getting the chance to go to Elysium. But the problem is you can't get there unless you're really, really rich. Then, as a worker, he finds himself exposed to radiation, which we're told will kill him in 5 days. This is a narrative device. You've got 5 days in which to, do all the stuff that needs to be done. So he decides he has to get to Elysium. The only way he can do it is to agree Johnny Mnemonic style to allow his brain to be used as storage space by the resistance in order that he may serve a purpose for them whilst doing this. But of course,
is this the whole movie you're telling?
No, this is the setup. What he doesn't realise is that he has more information in his head than he thinks.
They will hunt you to the edge of the earth for this.
What is it?
It's a reboot program for Elysium. Whoever has this has the power to override their whole system. Open the borders. Make everyone a citizen of Elysium. This can save your life. We can save everyone. When can I go?
So there's been a lot of discussion about, Matt Damon, because Matt Damon is a man with a sort of big social conscience, and Matt Damon wanting to do the film partly because of the fact that it's a social conscience story. It's about the rich and the poor, and it's about the way in which revolutionary ideas of equality, and it's about healthcare, and all those things are basically hardwired into the story. And you kind of expect that from the guy who gave you District 9, which was in many ways a sort of political parable about racism. And the film looks very handsome. I mean, it's a good-looking movie. You will have seen already from the clips or the trailers, that there's obviously been some money invested in it, and it has a great big A-list star. But on the other hand, it's a popcorn movie. It's a popcorn science fiction movie, and you think this sounds like a great combination. So it's going to be, enjoyable, entertaining, star-driven, good to look at, but with deep, solid themes. And then you sit there watching it thinking, why aren't I finding this more rewarding, more interesting, just more engaging than it is? I like Matt Damon very much. I like the director very much. I like the idea. I like that kind of class war idea, science fiction as some kind of future. Of course, I'm a sucker for all that stuff. And the problem is that on one level, it's a bit like listening to a studio-produced album by a band that made a really good record in their garage. And then you think the next one's going to be the same, yet somehow it's lost some of its charm. Somehow the edges have been taken off it. Somehow it just feels much more sort of, contained and packaged. I mean, interestingly enough, the title, obviously, you've had Oblivion, and then you've got Elysium, and people can confuse these ideas in their head. They're all about the earth being ravaged. And there is that similar sense that you think there are things in it that are, interesting to look at and work as science fiction spectacle to some extent. But what it doesn't do is engage you enough on a personal level. And it starts to sort of trudge about 30 minutes in, which is a shame. Every now and then, Sholto Copley turns up, and whenever he's on, everything kind of, gets a lot better because he's a lot more edgy and a lot more spiky presence. But it's not simply that. I know some people think Matt Damon is not an engaging screen presence. I have no problem with him at all. I think he's a perfectly engaging screen presence. It was just that I like the ideas, I like the director, I like the cast, I like the design, but I started thinking things like, why is it that every line of Jodie Foster's looks like it's been post-synced? Did she decide to change her accent halfway through the filming? And once you start worrying about that sort of stuff, once you start worrying about, is that actor's lines dubbed? Are those actors' lines dubbed? You think that's it. The problem is the movie hasn't captivated me. And it's funny, I'm a sucker for science fiction. I'm a sucker for the ideas. I like the actor. I like the director. But I have to admit, I found it a trudge. And it's a shame because I wanted it to be sparky and exciting. And it's not terrible. It's really not terrible. It's just quite ordinary.
So not even the class war aspect of it got you going.
Well, that was, as I said, that's the thing that I thought, okay, this will drive it along. I'll forgive it many sins because that's what it's about. And yet it just felt stodgy. That's not to say it's bad. I think he's a good director. And as I said, I like all the things about it. You know what's that thing about the sum of the parts is, what is it? The whole is less than the sum. No,
That
the other
one.
way around. Well, you know that thing about
It's less than the sum of its parts.
Yes, it is less than the whole is less than the sum of its parts. Thank you for digging me out of that particular linguistic hole.